The rides designed to turn boring lives into fun suddenly turned into death traps. These are the most disturbing amusement park incidents, and today we're diving deep into the iceberg. Keep watching because the incidents become increasingly worse and just plain grueling. Alton Towers Theme Park, June 2015. Back in June 2015 at Alton Towers Theme Park in the United Kingdom, the Smiler went through an accident that history will never forget. The Smiler holds the world record for the most inversions at a single coaster, which is 14 loops, designed to make riders as disoriented as physically possible without hurting them in a bad way. The ride had a rough history even before this incident. During its press preview, it started with the journalists hanging upside down for hours, and after opening, it faced constant malfunctions and breakdowns. On June 2nd, 2015, these malfunctions turned deadly. A test car stalled in the middle of the track. The ride's computer system detected something on the tracks and sent alerts to operators, warning them not to send out the next train. However, the operators completely ignored the computer. They assumed that it was a false alarm and manually overrode the safety system, sending a full cart of 16 people directly toward the stopped car. The collision happened at such a high speed, and the loaded cart slammed into the stationary test cars with passengers trapped inside both vehicles. It took over 4 hours to rescue them from the wreckage. Around 16 people were injured, including 2 women who suffered severe leg injuries from blood loss that required amputations. One of the women, Vicky, lost her left leg, and then there was Leah, who lost her left leg entirely. The investigation revealed nothing but complete operator incompetence because they chose to make this happen, which is quite messed up when you think about it. Verrückt, Schlitterbahn Water Park, August 2016. If you thought the Alton Towers incident was bad, wait till you see what happened in Kansas City, because this will genuinely shock you. Subscribe now, because we are about to get deeper into the dark side of amusement parks. It was August 2016 in Schlitterbahn Water Park, where Verrückt, also known as Insane in Germany, was the tallest water slide in the world at around 168 feet. Riders would slide down in 3-person rafts that were known to go airborne and become completely separated from the slide surface. This wasn't a rare occurrence. It was a common complaint with this ride. People regularly reported that their rafts were lifting off the slide and nearly hitting their heads on the safety netting suspended above. However, then something unthinkable happened. 10-year-old Caleb Schwab, who was the son of Kansas State Representative Scott Schwab, was riding this ride with 2 adult women when their raft went airborne during the ascent of the second hill. Caleb struck a metal support pole holding the safety net, and that impact decapitated him. The 2 women behind him in the raft were also injured. One suffered a broken jaw, and the other had a bone fracture requiring stitches. They witnessed a child's decapitation from just inches away. Superman Towers, Six Flags Kentucky Kingdom, June 2007. Next, let's move to June 2007 at Six Flags Kentucky Kingdom. The Superman Tower of Power is a drop ride that lifts passengers a whopping 325 feet in the air before repeatedly dropping them in controlled falls as riders ascend. Operators heard unusual screaming, and this was not the fun kind, but something that went seriously wrong. The cables holding the ride were snapping, breaking off, and whipping around the passengers like high-speed razor wire. They were wrapped around their bodies and necks while they were strapped helplessly into their seats. Instead of immediately hitting the emergency stop, the operators started screaming for help. The ride continued ascending, and it began its drop sequence while the passengers were being sliced by a magic cable. Finally, someone hit the emergency stop, but not before 13-year-old Caitlin had both of her feet completely severed. A cable had wrapped around her ankles during the ascent, and then the drop sequence tore her feet off. Other riders were seriously injured with cable lacerations across their bodies. They sat strapped in their seats, watching the poor girl's feet get torn off while being unable to help or do anything but swim. Six Flags provided Kettling with lifetime medical care as part of the settlement, but her feet, which were given by God, were already gone. Orlando Freefall, Icon Park, March 2022. Now let's move to March 2022 in the Icon Park in Orlando, Florida. The Orlando Freefall is the tallest freestanding drop tower in the world, standing at a whopping 400 feet. The ride had only been open for a few weeks when 14-year-old Tyre Sampson visited with his family. Tyre was a large kid, nearly 100 pounds over the ride's weight limit. Ride operators saw this. They knew that he exceeded the weight restrictions, but they let him on anyway. As the ride made its first drop from 400 feet, Tyre slipped out of his harness and fell approximately 100 feet, landing face first into concrete below. He died instantly. The other riders were stuck on the ride after watching someone fall out. Operators showed an extreme lack of urgency and took a while before they even stopped the ride, leaving traumatized passengers suspended in the air. The entire incident was even captured on camera, and you can see Tyre concerned about his restraint before the ride even started. You can even see him sleeping during the drop, and the footage is just nightmare-ish. Haunted Castle, Six Flags, Great Adventure, New Jersey, May 1984. It was May 1984 when Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey saw one of the biggest downfalls in the amusement park's history, not because of underwhelming rides, but because of a ride that was supposed to be a haunted house, that was supposed to be the future of amusement park fun, which turned deadly. If you are devastated looking at these videos and want to see us cover the darker side of the world, subscribe to the channel right now. The Haunted Castle was essentially a walk-through haunted house attraction with tight corridors, countless twists and turns, and near pitch-black darkness. The entire structure was filled with flammable decorations. There was foam padding on the walls, cloth curtains, wooden props, and the building was essentially begging for a spark. During normal operation with guests walking through, a fire broke out. The cause still remains unknown because one witness reported seeing a young boy using a cigarette lighter to navigate the dark corridors, which ignited the rubber wall padding, but nothing was ever confirmed. What is confirmed is that the fire spread at a terrifying speed. The maze-like layout that made the attraction scary now made it a death trap. People couldn't find exits at all. The darkness and smoke made navigation impossible as well. Some guests thought that the fire was part of the show. They assumed that the smoke and heat were special effects that were designed to enhance the haunted house experience. By the time they realized it was real, escape routes were already blocked. 8 teenagers died trapped inside. When firefighters arrived and found the dead bodies, they were so severely burned that first responders initially thought that many dummy props were used in the attraction. The victim's age was a lot less too, driven to an amusement park and burned to death in a building that had no sprinkler system. That's just messed up. Formosa Fun Coast Color Play Asia Party, June 2015. Then came June 2015 at Formosa Fun Coast Water Park in Taiwan, which was hosting what's called the Color Play Asia Party. This is a festival where massive amounts of colored cornstarch powder are spread over crowds while concerts play. Experts had warned since 2013 that when these festivals started, the colored powder could cause a dust explosion if the conditions were right. The warnings were ignored during the festival. Attendees near the stage were covered from head to toe in powder, and some reports claim that they were ankle-deep in accumulated powder around the performance area. Stage lights beat down on the powder, heat built up, and then combustion occurred. A massive explosion of flame erupted across the crowd, with hundreds of people catching fire simultaneously. 500 people were burned and 200 were in critical condition. Out of them, 15 died. The sheer number of burn victims had overwhelmed every nearby hospital. Over 50 hospitals across Taiwan had to be utilized, and many doctors treated victims with young medical students because there simply weren't enough experienced burn specialists for an incident of this scale. Action Park, New Jersey. Action Park in New Jersey earned the nickname Class Action Park for a good reason. From 1987, 6 people died at this single theme park. Back in 1980, a 19-year-old died on the Alpine slide after the car jumped the track, which caused him to hit his head on the rock. He went into a coma and died days later. Then came 1982, when a 15-year-old drowned in the tidal wave pool that was known as the Grave Pool. It was known as this name because it had hundreds of people with only 2 lifeguards on duty. The artificial waves were so strong that swimming in the deep end was nearly impossible. Then just weeks later, a 27-year-old man died on the kayak experience when his kayak flipped while standing in the water. He stepped on exposed wiring from underwater fumes and was ultimately electrocuted. Then came 1984, when another 20-year-old drowned in the tidal wave with the same problems of overcrowding, understaffing, and waves that were way too strong. They never fixed any of it. In the same summer of 1984, a 20-year-old drowned on the Roaring Rapids, which was a whitewater rafting simulation, when his raft flipped, and he became trapped in it underwater. This was apparently a common issue with the specific ride. Finally, in 1987, an 18-year-old drowned at the tidal wave pool, with 3 people who had already died in the exact pool and 3 separate incidents that were separate from mine. Yet they never added more lifeguards or reduced capacity or even weakened the waves. Action Park operated with a carefree attitude towards literally everything. Rides were poorly maintained, safety regulations were ignored, and staff were undertrained or understaffed. Which ride was the most devastating? Let us know in the comments down below and subscribe to the channel because our next video might be even more shocking than this one.